In my opinion, the most American thing you can do is cast a vote in an election. Whether it's a federal, state, or local election, filling out your ballot upholds the promise of the Founding Fathers. And nearly every year, we have the chance to vote on something. From presidential elections all the way down to constitutional amendments, it's easy to take the process for granted when all we usually see is the ballot and the sticker. But behind the scenes, elections are a complicated web of logistics. It's not easy, but the Chatham County Board of Elections and the Chatham County Board of Registrars make it look easy. And we're going to try to make it easy to understand today on Gov101. Chatham County is the only county in Georgia where the Board of Elections and Board of Registrars are still separate entities. In other counties, the responsibilities of both are rolled into one. But that makes it easy to understand for this video since it splits the two into nice even chunks. We'll start with the registrars. As the name implies, they're responsible for voter registration, but they also maintain up-to-date voter rolls. They process voter registration applications, they train poll workers, and manage both the absentee ballot process and the early voting process. If you aren't registered to vote in Chatham County, you can do so online with a valid driver's license through the Secretary of State's office at www.mvp.sos.ga.gov. But there's a good chance you are already registered to vote because it happens automatically when you renew your driver's license unless you specifically opted out. You can also download a paper application from voter.chathamcountyga.gov. The Board of Registrars works in tandem with the Board of Elections, ensuring that once the polls close on Election Day, the early votes and absentee ballots are already tallied for Chatham, paving the way for counting. But before that, there has to be an Election Day. The Board of Elections works year-round to ensure that all of Chatham County's 80-plus voting precincts are ready to welcome voters in. The Board of Elections coordinates with schools, churches, government buildings, and they make sure that all are filled with voting machines, staffed with poll workers, and of course, have a reserve of voting stickers. And that's just the start of the day. All day long, elections officials and volunteers are checking people into the polls, sometimes redirecting them to their correct polling place if they got the wrong location. They're moving a lot of people through. And once the polls close at 7, the real work begins, tallying. Poll workers, trained volunteers, full-time staff, even leadership get together to tabulate the totals. Depending on the size of the election, it can take anywhere from a few hours to the next morning to fully count Chatham County's ballots. Once those are finished, the vote totals are transmitted to the Georgia Secretary of State, the office that certifies elections on a state level. There, the totals from Chatham, along with every other county in the state, are counted. But it doesn't end there for the BOE either. There are still other votes coming in, including UOCAVA, the Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act. It's a mouthful, but essentially it's for folks who are out of the country or service members who could not vote in person. And following the election, there's a brief moment of respite for the BOE, but soon they'll start the process all over again for the next primary or next election. And from a 30,000-foot view, that's how election operations run in Chatham County. There's plenty of smaller details we didn't get into here, but if you'd like to learn more, you can check out our episode of The Chat, Chatham County's podcast, where I spoke to Election Supervisor Brooke Schreiner. We'll link to that below, and additionally, we'll provide links to check your voter registration status and some information about becoming a poll worker or volunteer if you're so inclined. Thank you so much for joining us on Gov101, and I hope you learned something. Until next time, I'm Will Peebles, and you are my favorite student.